what you're saying is a good point. I think there's a big difference between being a hustler and an entrepreneur. And to me, that difference is systems and, structure. In the beginning, I was absolutely a hustler. I was not an entrepreneur. I was doing everything. I was running around, I was taping up boxes. I was, placing purchase orders. I was loading trucks all in the same day. That didn't feel like I was an entrepreneur. That felt like I was, I had a job I had a business, but I had a job.
Welcome to Your One Podcast, where future leaders take on the complexities of today.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Your One Podcast. Thank you for all of you joining on this Father's Day, and shout out to all of the fathers out there. And for those who have listened previously, you know the deal. But for new listeners on this podcast, we talk about impactful founders, people, and topics of our generation, and welcome all of you to join the conversation. So, and as always, helping me to do just that is Micah McNeil, Felipe Segura, and Zachary Crilly. And today is a very special day because joining us is a guest with a very interesting background, a background where the intersection of e-commerce, Amazon, and logistics meet. A guy that I would see in the library, tirelessly pounding away at his keyboard with about 5 different monitors up at once in the Babson Library. So joining us from the Northeast up in Maine is none other than former Babson Beaver and current top 50 Amazon seller, Ethan Sclar. Welcome to the pod, Ethan.
Thanks, Gavin. Appreciate that. That was bringing back some old memories.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would see you in that library all the time. But Zach and I, we both went to Babson, and Ethan did as well. So we're excited for this podcast. But thanks for coming on. And on this podcast, I feel like we reference the podcast Founders a lot by David Senra. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it highlights some of the best entrepreneurs in history. And one thing in common they find is they do something very well for a very long time. And I know we're all young, but it seems that's what you've done with Sebago Distribution is just you found a niche, you've done it very well, and you've done it for years now. So for the audience, could you just give us a little bit about how it started, when you started it, and exactly what it is that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sebago Distribution started 5 years ago, sophomore year of college, home for the summer. Didn't really have a direct plan, so thought I'd give the Amazon thing a try that so many people talked about. So for me, it really just started off by getting into the platform and just listing a few items. I think our first item that we sold was an ankle sleeve, and no really rhyme or reason, just had, a good contact for them, and saw that, there might be some demand, threw it up there, and, honestly, to my surprise, it sold rather quickly. And, from there, it was just discovery, and that's what it was for quite some time, was just discovery for 3 to 6 months, just trying to understand the platform, realizing that the power that the platform has. And it slowly migrated into a bigger and bigger operation. Was in the garage to start, and after we went home for COVID, moved into a smaller warehouse. And at that point, it really was the same concept that we started with, just buying and reselling. We got into the grocery space more, and realized really that everything was really being sold. And we've been able to scale that business up into a significantly sized business. We're one of the top 50 sellers in the country now on the Amazon marketplace. But in the last 2 years, we've really made the shift towards partnering with brands directly and not just being a reseller. More being a partner, handling their advertising, handling their A+ content, their storefronts, their optimization, their back end, and helping them grow their business online. So from a oversight, Sebago Distribution started as a reseller, grew as a reseller, and is now more focused on building those partnerships with brands, and looking forward to doing that in the future.
That's awesome. And as a fellow Amazon, I mean, I work at a Amazon agency, so I definitely respect the hustle. It takes a lot to win on Amazon. But that's also something I wanted to get into, is like the market, and just keep it high level. But I mean, we were all born 1999, 2000, basically when the internet was blowing up, and we've grown up with the e-commerce market. So essentially the e-commerce market is now 24, 25 years old. And that means market saturation, market maturity. Some niches are very saturated. Like, I know you said that from 2019 to now, you're kind of doing the same thing of just selling products on Amazon. Hasn't changed that much, but what are the dynamics like now opposed to 2019 when you started? Because I know, working with brands in my current role, I'm seeing that if you don't have that branded search at the beginning, it's very difficult to win. But at the same time, like, there's still new brands coming in. They're having success. How do you see that with working with brands, just from a high level perspective? Is it much harder now than it was in 2019, or is it pretty much the same?
Yeah, I really think it depends on the type of brand, the type of products, how niche the product is, how much brand loyalty there is towards that product. We work with some brands that, are, very old, and they have, a very good reputation. There's a lot of nostalgia towards the brands. And, from that respect, you're not playing as much defense. But, then we work with other brands that don't have as much brand loyalty and, have more generic products where, there could be competitors coming on, every week launching new products, and you have to be on your toes to make sure that, the brand's being presented and, still, holding the same traction, if not growing. So from that respect, it can definitely be hard. And then on the wholesale side, and, just like you mentioned, the saturation of Amazon, that's completely true. We are not a unique company. There's many companies like ours. We try to do the best we can do and, be the best at our craft, but there's a lot of people out there. And from that respect, it's been, how good can we be at logistics? How good can we be at our craft? We've had to develop our own software to, kind of give us a little bit of an edge from the operations side. And, that's the cool thing about the business. There's going to be, continued changes to the platform that Amazon puts out. And, your success is going to be dependent on your ability to adapt and, stay on your toes and not get comfortable.
I think that sums up the Amazon space so well, just not being comfortable. They'll change one thing on you, and then you basically have to change your whole process. Like, I know with the inbounding fees, that must have been a huge hit in terms of what you guys do, because you're mostly logistics. But it's interesting to get that perspective from, like, the wholesale side. But bringing it back
The
to kind of
inbound fees were nuts.
yeah,
The inbound fees, the low inventory level fees, those are massive changes, and
yeah,
were very, very disruptive. But to that point, as soon as they announced those changes 4 months 4 months in advance of when they put them in, you know, that was the first thing we were talking about in our software development calls is, okay, let's adapt. Let's use the information they gave us and, build it into our software to our best of ability. So when March 1st and April 1st comes, we're best suited to, continue our operations to the best of our ability.
Yeah, did that I mean, that's a huge hit on everyone, but did you basically make it so that you're minimizing those fees and moving forward by shipping to multiple warehouses at once instead of doing like the having Amazon split that up?
So we've been playing with both. Currently, we're shipping to one because
Yeah.
it's not as simple as looking at the logistics as, okay, we're shipping to 5 locations and we're shipping to one location, and the fee for shipping to one location is this. There's an operational efficiency that you lose in your warehouse shipping to 5 locations as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're producing at a lower rate, and then you're not as able to buy as many products, move as many products, there's an opportunity cost involved in that as well. So,
Mm.
I think shipping to 5 locations at the scale we're at is definitely challenging. And, talking to other people in the industry, it seems as if most people in our model are eating that fee, going to one location and, continuing the scale that they're at. And, on the other hand, it wasn't just an inbound placement fee increase. They also reduced the FBA fees on the other hand as well. So it balances out a little bit. Obviously, you want to be doing the most efficient thing. So it wasn't as bad as a hit as it sounded. I think the low inventory level fees that they introduced are, much more controversial slash, difficult to handle. Um,
Yeah, I mean we could nerd out for hours on the Amazon platform, but let's keep it high level here. But going back to the just working on it during college, I know you started sophomore year, but I wanted to dive into that a bit because I know a lot of our listeners are looking for making a bigger impact, starting a company maybe for just freedom, maybe money and other reasons along those lines, but I want to talk about what it was like starting that up in college and balancing just hanging out with friends, having a social life, but also building a business to what it is now. And I know I said that, kind of joked about the fact that you were in the library grinding away, but that's real. Like that is what it takes. So I want you to highlight what that looked like for you and kind of like the transition from college to now of just taking this on full time.
yeah. It was really fun. It was really fun. It was really hard. But it was very, very exciting too. You know what I mean? Like I was figuring out that, okay, like we might actually have something here, could see it. Like when we originally started, we didn't know where it was going to go. We didn't know we were going to end up, on, the brand partnership side. So it was really just a lot of exploratory time. And it was a grind because, no systems were built. We, we were growing really, really fast, but the operation was, hurting because of that. We didn't have the software that we have today. So it was, just a lot of work. And the balancing the school and the work at the same time, I definitely I think I did an okay job, but I think I put the work before the school, so the school started to hurt a little bit, and you know,
Ethan,
wanted,
was there ever a point you were like, maybe should I just drop out and go business full time?
yes, but you know, when I started to have more success, it was pretty late in college, I would say. So I was like, I'm gonna finish this out. I can get through it, and it was fun too. You know what I mean? Like I met so many great people at college, and that social life that Gavin was talking about is also important. So I would have missed out on a lot of experiences as well. But yeah, it definitely crossed the mind.
Ethan, when would you say that you started calling yourself an entrepreneur? I think that that is something a lot of people, I think, who have like that side hustle or who are at school, they first think, okay, what does everyone else think? Because I don't have the results or I don't have the revenue. Like I can't make this a full-time job, but
Yeah.
this is what I spend, 90% of my mental energy on. Where did that transition? Were you from the start saying, no, I'm an entrepreneur, this is what I am, or what?
I mean, I always wanted to go down the path of entrepreneurship, but I think what you're saying is a good point. I think there's a big difference between being a hustler and an entrepreneur. And to me, that difference is systems and, structure. In the beginning, I was absolutely a hustler. I was not an entrepreneur. I was doing everything. I was running around, I was taping up boxes. I was, placing purchase orders. I was loading trucks all on the same day. That didn't feel like I was an entrepreneur. That felt like I was, I had a job that I had a business, but I had a job. When I felt to be more of an entrepreneur is when I started, to get to the point where, okay, I have this system here and I can, make processes for each side of the business, from the purchase order side, from the fulfillment side to the pricing side. And I can put pieces in place here. I can hire, valued employees to, and the formula is still positive. So that's when I felt more like I was becoming more of an entrepreneur.
So more going from worker towards managing, i.e., going from hustler to entrepreneur. But I guess I would contend that any entrepreneur is also. I would say that you can't call.
Totally. Yeah, totally. They're not mutually exclusive at all. I think, to be a good entrepreneur, you have to have, hustle at the same time. The point I'm trying to make is, to go to that next level, to create an organization that, is going to run while you're not there. That takes the step of becoming, more big picture and, trying to create a machine that runs sustainably.
And so what's been the hardest thing for you as you transition from doing everything yourself to now you have a team, right? And making sure that that process works. And I think this is a larger question that I don't think, say Savago becomes the next $1 trillion company, next Meta or whatever, right? This is always, it seems to be an issue of you have the founder who makes this great product, but then the person who carries that company up its exponential growth or whatever. And so I've been really, really interested just to know in those beginning stages how you feel about that difference.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, that's been tough for me as well because I never worked at, really any other company before this. So that's something I've definitely lacked is, the experience of how other companies and just how other organizations run, from just, really, really simple things such as like handbooks and culture and, weekly meetings. But for me, I mean, I think, one of the tougher things has been, and I mean, everybody says this, but letting go. And, realizing that me getting my hands in things can be not beneficial for the growth of the company, right? We've built these systems, we've hired a team, and, I'm always going to have maybe a way that I would do something a little bit different, but, letting go and letting people make mistakes is kind of like an evil necessary because that's how I learned, how to do things. I know how to do things the best in our company, not because I'm smarter than anybody, but just because, I built it and I've been doing it. So letting people get that experience and letting them make mistakes in order to become better at their job has been um, tough, definitely. But I think we're heading in the right direction, and more so shifting towards having weekly check-ins versus micromanaging has been big, right? Having weekly meetings with each department. This is the plan for the week. This is what went well last week. This is what didn't go well last week. This is something to look out for. And just, giving my insight in order to have a productive week, and then letting, those teams go, is a shift that is in progress of making, but, hopefully should lead us to be even more sustainable.
I'd like to back up a bit to the transition from the hustler to the entrepreneur, because I remember you telling stories about you and your cousin and how you used to go and push products. What was it? The community parking lot, the church parking lot.
We had a flea market one summer. We had a flea market. Yeah, selling discounted items on the side of the street.
And I distinctly remember sitting at a dinner with you, a group dinner, and you were talking about business in one form or the other, and you said, all I want to do is push product. That's all I want to do is push product. And I think a lot of our listeners can resonate with that hunger and that hustle that frankly a lot of young people and a lot of young men have to create and build something. But there's millions of Amazon sellers out there, and a lot of guys would have reached a moderate level of success and said, wow, look at this, look at me. I'm going to sit back now and ride this wave, or I'm going to sell a course, or I'm going to go and do this and do that. What was your mentality? Was it a conscious decision that you made that, no, I'm going to keep on going? Do you have like greater ambitions to keep on going? Is that something that came naturally to you? Was it a conscious decision, or was it just how the game played out?
I mean, I think I'm fortunate for it to be slightly natural, in terms of that's where a lot of the fulfillment comes for me is growing and not getting comfortable. And I think it's also a little bit of anxiety / panic that if you get to a point where you're comfortable, that's great. That'll be fun for a little bit, but most likely, that won't last for too long. And especially in the industry that we're in, you really can't afford not to grow with how quickly things are changing, how many competitors there are out there. We've kept our foot on the pedal, and if we take our foot off the pedal, somebody's going to come and take something from us. So I think that is will always be the case. And I think it's also fun. We really enjoy what we do. Like, it's not like it's work. It's growing. It's not like, oh, like, once we get to this level, guys, we're gonna be good. Like, there's no intention of that. We don't really know where like the end goal is. There isn't really one. We just want to keep doing what we're doing to the best of our ability, and grow as long as it makes sense.
I really like that point, Ethan. It reminds me of Naval Ravikant's quote, "Find work that feels like play." I at least hearing it sounds like you and your colleagues, people who are under you were to work, and that seems like 90% of the whole battle. So, keeping that competitive edge, staying in that top 50 with aspirations to move up, but no aspirations to drop down, is very inspiring, and it's nice to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's another question I have is, in your day-to-day, what is the difference between being a top 100,000 seller, a top 1,000 seller, and a top 50 seller? How has your life changed in your climb up the ranks?
Yeah. Working on the business versus working in the business is how I would highlight that. I was doing everything in the beginning, and then it's been slowly migrating the other way, to where I can spend my time on, where the business is going and making more strategic decisions, meeting with new potential brands to work with, and, really trying to elevate the rest of our team, to make them the best they possibly can be. And yeah, that's, I mean, my week, in an ideal week, I'm meeting with our teams. We're, making plans, and then the rest of the week I'm working on new stuff and how can we grow and how can we get better? Where can we go? Yeah.
And I want to get into that a little more of like, I mean, entrepreneurship is somewhat of a lonely road, or known to be at least. And I want to know if you've found that in a sense, and by onboarding these key employees and people that you're able to train and be with every day, has that almost made the process more enjoyable? Or do you still feel like you're the one pushing this rock up the hill, and just like you're the one making all of the key decisions? Or can you kind of share that with your team?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's well said. And I mean, that's exactly what it is. In the beginning, definitely lonely, definitely harder. And, today, I mean, I think now that you say it, definitely a lot more enjoyment from being able to share the success, share the challenges, people around you, and, lean on partners to make decisions. And yeah, I think it's definitely a lot more enjoyable. And I mean, it's a reason why we're growing, is because, a one-man show is gonna plateau, and you really can't do it all by yourself, especially if you want to go to the next level.
And do you have a community? I mean, being at that level, I'm sure you want to know the ins and outs of what the best are doing. And I'm always interested, like, man, I do want to find a Amazon community that I can, bounce ideas off of, because I'm in that space. But at the same time, I feel at times it's difficult to find. But has that made the process better? And has that been a key ingredient to your growth? And have you been able to find that group of people to almost grow alongside since 2019?
Yeah, I definitely connected with some really cool people, a lot via social media, mostly Instagram. I think there's a lot of people posting pretty good content on that side, and, just connected with a lot of people through that. And, it's fun to do that, because like you said, I mean, it's kind of hard to find that community. But when you do find that community, like the shared experiences are so strong, and it's cool, makes for quite a cool connection.
On that
But,
topic,
we've learned a lot. Sorry, Zach. We've learned a lot from people on Instagram as well. We've met some consultants through there. We've, you know, met a lot of cool people.
on that
That's
topic,
ex-
as you know, our intention here is to highlight young entrepreneurs and to inspire the future young entrepreneurs of the world. I know that you're a good storyteller. I'm curious if you have any good stories about being a young person in business in this game. Any funny, comical, or interesting stories through your last 5 years doing this?
Put me on the spot. Let me think about it. I'll get back to you. Not really a funny moment, but one thing that the business has given us the opportunity for is to hire a lot of cool people from the town that we're in. Our town is known for having a lot of Somali citizens live there, and that's been, not a funny experience, but, the amount of stories that we've been able to experience from having, all of our employees there, and, having, two different cultures come into one workplace to join one team has been, an amazing experience, and learning from their culture, and, navigating that language barrier has, made some pretty cool connections and experiences.
I think still one of my favorite photos is I don't know if it was your Christmas party or your anniversary party from last year that you posted on your business LinkedIn, where it's a big
Yeah.
warehouse shot and everybody's enjoying a slice of pizza. And it's been such
Yeah.
a fun group. And also the promotional video for the business that you sent me, where you interviewed different people, explained what you do. And some of those Somali women they said, "Oh, do you like the people that you work with?" And they said, "No, I don't like them. It's my family." And that just must be such a fulfilling thing for you to know that you had a part in bringing that together and giving them that positive work experience.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely been, a great why, for what we do, and it has definitely been very, very cool to be able to do that and continue to do that, and hopefully be able to hire more and more people into the future.
Yeah, and that's great. And before we wrap, wanted to see if you have any advice for entrepreneurs just starting out, especially in that lonely phase. What is that? I guess what's that thing that got you through? I guess some of those moments of like, oh, am I doing this right? Is this gonna change? Why should I keep working later tonight? Why don't I just go tomorrow morning or whatever?
Yeah, for me, I really didn't know where it was going, but I knew we were doing something, and I knew it was it was working. I didn't know. I didn't. We didn't start off by saying, "Hey, we want to be a reseller for the rest of, our lives," and that's it. Like we always wanted to do something more than that, and didn't really know where the business was going to go. But I think just staying in it, especially if you enjoy parts of it, staying in it, and you'll just start to see, where different directions, it can lead you. Like I think that's been the biggest thing for us and for me is, okay, you might not see the clear vision right now, but it will lead to another area, and that area will then lead to a different area, and you don't know where that's going to be, but just staying in the business and continuing to learn, I think the vision will present itself.
That's awesome. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us, but it's no secret for everybody listening. It takes hard work, takes years, and Ethan, you're a great example of that. So we appreciate you coming on. And with that, that's episode number 33 on this wonderful Father's Day, Sunday afternoon. But hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And Ethan, thank you so much. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.